Hi friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Bethany, and on this channel we talk about the false beliefs taught to women inside the church, and we shine a light on the problematic behaviors of some Christian influencers. And if any of that resonates with you, please subscribe to my channel, share this with a friend, and ring the notification bell so you'll be notified every single time I drop a new video, and come hang out with me on Instagram and sign up for the Outspoken Exfundie Newsletter so you can receive videos 12 to 24 hours early before they go public. That'll be in the description box below. Let's get started. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the revival that has been going on in Asbury Baptist Church. This has been going on for a while now. So if you are not keen on what a revival is, if you are not raised being a part of a revival, if you've never experienced like going to a revival is when the Spirit takes over and you're essentially there, from a fundamentalist Christian standpoint, there are breakthroughs that happen, there are miracles that take place, a lot of speaking in tongues, which we talked about in a few videos prior. A revival is supposed to not be planned, and it's spur of the moment. Spirit comes, and sometimes it can go on for days, sometimes weeks, months, whatever, of just continuous worship, continuous miracles, continuous, all of the different things. If you haven't already, I'll put it in the description box below. It is a church horror story of the revival that I was a part of in the church I grew up going to, that was supposed to last for 4 days and ended up lasting for 3 days, and ended up lasting for 3 weeks. And it was just a big old scam in the end of it, because every single service they were talking about tithing and money, and all the money from the church went to this ministry. We're gonna kind of talk about what is literally currently happening. Asbury University is a private Christian university in Wilmore, Kentucky. It is a non-denominational school. Okay, so a few days ago, they have in a Christian university, they have mandatory times when they have to go into the chapel to have service. So this particular service, it's been all over TikTok, and just wanted to talk about it, just keep y'all updated. And in this service, they were talking about love, and you can't properly love community, love people without the love of Jesus. And so from that service came about spur of worship, spur of just praying and whatever. So this happened a few days ago, and it has been continuous worship, continuous prayer for hours and hours and days on end. Okay, so I do have some TikToks and some reels from Asbury University. There is one TikTok video in particular that I do resonate with. I don't know what my thoughts are on this at the moment, because like I'm sure y'all are, because if you're on this channel, you're either progressive Christian, I guess, or you're deconstructing, which a lot of my audience are people who are deconstructing religion. So if we automatically hear there is a revival at this Christian university, our ears perk up and we're like, okay, what sketchy shit is going on there? And I mean, of course, I did the same thing. So I'm sitting on TikTok looking at Asbury University scams, Asbury University controversies, things like that. And I'll be honest with you, the only negative thing that I've heard is from a King James preaching man who thinks women speaking is against the Bible. You know what I mean? So his opinion's out. So everything else has been quite interesting from the things that I've been researching, the videos that I've been seeing. There was one in particular video that I'll put up on here of this woman having a seizure, and I'll show it. This woman is having a seizure, and there are just a lot of people in the congregation, and they're asking for medical assistance, which, wonderful, yes, do that. But then she's taken to the aisle, and she's prayed over, and then all of a sudden she screams, and everybody thinks, the demon oppression, demon possession, whatever, which one they think is going on, stronghold, whatever, is happening, and she releases, she screams, and it's like, oh, finally she's, free of whatever stronghold was happening on her life. And that, it's a big thing that is a little sketch. But other than that, that's the only thing I can find that's weird. So let's go ahead and start with that video here. Because at the very top it says, woman get freed from demonic oppression. Jesus. Woman get freed. Here's a video. So this is at Asbury Revival. In the very, very middle, you see her in a red shirt, and she's seizing. And a lot of people are gathering around her. Now they're starting to pray. Carrying her out. Now listen. I respect that, for sure. I have so many problems with this. Listen. And the rest is just them clapping and whatever. So I've seen numerous videos of this exact thing happening. And they said, listen to the scream. That's a demonic scream. That's not a human scream. And listen, I have a lot of problems with this, because number one, if somebody is seizing, sometimes they will relieve themselves, obviously on accident. They'll either pee themselves, poop themselves, whatever, on accident. And that is why, if you're ever in a situation, I'm not in like the medical field, other than like the fitness related shit, but not the medical, anywho. So that's why if you are in a room and somebody is seizing, it's like, hey, clear out the room, because that might be the case. That might happen. And that's, nobody needs to see that. And it's embarrassing. Nobody needs to see that. Okay, so the fact that they carry her to the aisle instead of like just carrying her the rest of the way down, and I think that they did that so they could pray over her while she's seizing. What? While she's seizing, because they're thinking that she's oppressed like she's under a demonic oppression, instead of maybe this is a very medical emergency. And I think it cut off because I did see one video where the preacher is saying like, hey, we need medical personnel, clear the aisles if you are not medical personnel. Awesome. Good for you. fantastic. There must be a lot of medical personnel there because the whole aisle was filled with people, and the woman praying for her. So if this was a seizure, why couldn't you have just taken her? And while somebody is seizing, you don't want to necessarily hold their body so they're not shaking, okay? And that's why I was like, oh my God, why don't they just clear the row where she was and let her finish, and then whatever. Again, I'm not a medical person. This is just what I'm thinking, because I have had a lot of history with a certain person in my life who had seizures growing up. So all of that to say, okay, that's super sketch, you know, still have questions. And then they're like, oh, listen to the faith build up when the lady's praying for the person. It's like, no. They're just getting louder. Like, every person is just praying a little louder, and it seems like the whole, does that make sense? Like, I don't think it's like the faith build up. I think it's people are just getting louder from a logical standpoint. And listen, when you're seizing, you're not conscious. You don't know what's going on. So when you come to, it's like, oh my God, like, what's happening? So think of this. You're in the middle of a church service and you start seizing, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're coming to, and people are all over you, and people are literally praying for a demonic spirit to no longer oppress you. Maybe that scream was coming from, where am I? What the hell is going on? What are we doing? Blah, 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 whatever. So I have a lot of questions with this. I'd like to hear from the lady that was having a seizure. But this was the only sketch thing that I've seen, which, again, that is super, super sketch. So it's like, hold the phone. What are we doing here? But a lot of those people are truly going to believe that she has been delivered from an oppression, like a demonic oppression. Okay, so here we are at the, I don't want to get copyright claim or whatever, so I'll just take the volume all the way down. Day 6 of the revival at Asbury, going on 130 hours of worship. 130 hours of constant worship. So, you know, there has to be people, because people aren't singing or performing on the praise team for that many hours, so they have to be, you know, switching out here and there, which I'm really hoping. But that's a lot of freaking hours. And if you are there the whole time, what my mind goes to first is sleep deprivation. That's where my mind goes. And here, again, Asbury Revival, just a lot of people going. And I've seen a lot of people on TikTok who are traveling to go to Asbury to be involved in their revival, which, I don't know, man, is strange to me because, again, I have a lot of questions. Because if the power of God and your relationship with God and, you know, whatever, if you're able to have that at home and have it in the sanctuary of your own house, whatever, why do you need to go to a different place in order to feel the same presence that you are taught that you can feel at home? You know what I mean? Like, why do you have to continuously go to a different place to receive that? If that makes sense. So that was another question that I had about this. And I'm about to show you the last video that I have here. I mean, this is just a brief synopsis of what is going on, and I'll try to keep you all updated on this because I'm really skeptical. I'm really curious. So this man, he used to be the drummer of a praise and worship team, and I'm not sure what denomination or church, but it looked Assemblies of God Pentecostal by what he has said. And I follow him on TikTok, and I'll show you his name here in a second. But he went there, and he is deconstructing from just evangelical Christianity as a whole. And he went there, and, you know, he is a little skeptical, but then he comes out with his thoughts, and I was like, oh my God, like that makes sense to me. And like, I love that. Like, that's wonderful, whatever. So a question that I do have, one that he says a lot, is emotion. Oh, what's the word he says? Emotion, whatever. And essentially means, like, are these people just going off of pure emotion, or are they gonna forever be changed? Like, again, like I've said in a Britt and Dawn video, how many times can your life change? Like, how many times can your life change? So, are these lives gonna be changed for the better in the future? Or are we just, stuck in the same rut? It just feels good for the moment. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and watch this. This is going to be the last one.
You heard about this Asbury revival happening at Asbury University in Kentucky? Because I have, and I actually went to check it out. And look, if you follow the work that we do on any of these platforms, including TikTok, you know that we're pretty skeptical of our own evangelical tradition. And frankly, when I hear the term revival, I kind of get triggered because I've been a part of not only those spaces on a consumer side, but I've also been in the band helping to facilitate these moves of the Spirit that ultimately turn out to be just emotionalism and really intense music that then end up changing no one's life long term. So I had to go because we had some people in our community who were there, who were students or alumni, and I wanted to know from the students and from the faculty themselves how they were viewing this, because let's face it, at this point, it's gotten way bigger than just them, and frankly, from my vantage point, it seems like there are some bad faith actors and Christian nationalists trying to co-opt that, but more on that in a minute. And I met with a few of the queer students on campus. Now, Asbury as an organization, as an institution, is technically not affirming. However, they seem to be in progress with how they treat and how they love students who are queer. And the one person I talked to in particular is very open and honest about who they are. I mean, they were wearing the pronoun pins and had it all over their backpack. Even did like an art installation talking about how they've been treated as someone who's queer in the church as a whole. And Asbury supports it. And they told me that the faculty overall was really supportive of them. So that's progress. And the other thing that they told me that really shifted my personal perspective on this was to hear that even during this revival thing, for them, they've met God in maybe a different way than they have in a long time. And that made me pause for a minute, because I think what can happen is that I can take my own baggage and my own legitimate skepticism, and I can throw it onto people in situations that really I'm not a part of directly. And it kind of hit me that I can unintentionally become a fundamentalist all over again by barging into people's sacred spaces and telling them what this is or isn't. And that moment, I had to really tell myself, if this student is experiencing this and they're telling me that the faculty are trying to protect what's happening there, and that maybe something that even they can't fully describe is happening in a really unique way, I had to tell my skeptic brain that yes, maybe I have my own perspectives on this being good or not, or is it just emotionalism and just neurons firing off? But if they're being changed and they're finding a reconnection to the divine, who am I to say, sorry, it's just not what you think it is? So I spent the whole day talking to people in those spaces, and I was actually really encouraged to hear stories of either faculty stopping outside groups from trying to pray the gay away over students, to other students who are, or I should say other alumni who came back to say, hey, how can we maybe speak into this and challenge the faculty to look at their own systemic sins of maybe homophobia or racism, and to start rethinking this based on this revival moment happening. And I gotta be honest, I did not expect to make a video saying these things, and I am still personally very skeptical. And I think I'm actually more concerned now that more charismatic groups are flocking there trying to co-opt it. I mean, Christian nationalists have showed up. Greg Locke was there at one point. Tucker Carlson just covered the event. That concerns me because evangelical culture like this tends to flock on things, not to give back or to think about the safety of the people who should be prioritized, but instead to make it their own thing, which is why we're starting to see other outbreaks of revival at other colleges and other places, which I am extremely skeptical of. So to sum this up, my thoughts are summed up in really one word: complicated. My experience was complicated. Hearing the stories from students and alumni was complicated. And we're all kind of in this weird tension. But it's important to recognize that ultimately my voice isn't the one that should shape what you think about this. It should be the voices of students and faculty who are there, while understanding that this is a very complicated situation with a lot of layers that will trigger us or bring us hope in different ways. I think the most hopeful part of my entire time there was late on Tuesday, the 14th, sitting in that chapel with 5 other people, one queer alumni, one who's a seminarian, a seminary student, and then 2 people who are part of our community that we do online. And we just sat there thinking through what are we seeing, what are we experiencing, how do we navigate this, and what's the fruit of it? And it was really healing, even for me. And I actually had this moment where I saw someone being prayed over. You know, their hands were out, and students were praying over them. And it was weird because that would have been me if I was in college, 15 years ago. That would have been me even 10 years ago. I know what that is like to do that. I know the feelings behind it. But now, on this side, I can't imagine how I ever would do that. And that gave me empathy and grace for folks in spaces who maybe for where they are in their life, this is what they need. Because I know that I sure as hell needed those moments back then. And yes, for sure they were problematic. And as someone who is a white cisgendered male, not all of the situations were harmful like they are for some other types of people. I totally acknowledge that. But man, it just gave me a different way of thinking about this. And I'm still wrestling through it. I'm still incredibly skeptical of all of it. But it was a reminder that if we say we can't put God in a box, that also includes not putting him in that box. So we'll see what happens.
I really enjoyed / resonated with that video because it's still, I am a little skeptical, but at the same time, like, if this is real, then who am I to say that their lives aren't being changed, So, any hoodles, that's what's going on with Asbury University. It's still going on. Like, right now, they're still in, like, full-blown worship. So, if I see anything different, I'll let y'all know. Let me know what your thoughts are below. Do you think it's weird? Do you think it's real? What are your thoughts? I'd love to know, because I'm kind of like him. Like, I'm complicated. I don't know, man. So, and I do want to acknowledge that this campus literally, like, acknowledges and allows queer folk to be in their Christian school. Like, that's a huge step up from any other Christian campus, any other Christian organization, and the faculty saying to other people, like, no, we're not praying gay away here. Like, that's huge. And from, like, the Christians that, I used to associate with, like, that is unheard of, to be completely frank. Like, the unheard of part is people defending queer folk. And so, like, hearing that was, wow. Like, that's great. Like, I'm so happy that queer people are being able to go to a Christian school. Like, good God. That's so silly that they would not be able to. But I thought that was actually very, very great. And that person in particular that he was talking about has experienced God. Like, I don't know, I don't know what he said, but that person experiencing God in a way that they've never experienced before. Like, that's awesome. Like, if you're being changed by this, absolutely. Like, let's do the thing. So, again, let me know what your thoughts are down below. And, again, I'll try to keep y'all informed on what's going on. If anything changes, like, I'll make another video about it. But any hoodles, always remember that you're a fearsome, powerful motherfucking woman. And I appreciate you so much. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.